What is going on, everybody? It's KB. Before the episode starts, make sure you go check out StreamerSZN's brand new theme music. That's right. We have full-time, brand new theme music thanks to the newest homie and newest member of the music side of Underground Sports Philadelphia homies. That is Mobley. Stay Volk. His new single is out now. It is linked in the description on YouTube, and you'll be hearing it on audio until we can figure out if we can play it on video on StreamerSZN episodes from here on out. That's our new theme music. Stay Volk. Go download it now wherever you get your music, and go check out the music video on YouTube. But now, let's get into the episode of StreamerSZN.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Oh my God, Joe's back!
What up? How you doing?
What is going on, fellow streamers? Welcome in to another edition of StreamerSZN, the exclusive streaming platform TV and movie podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. I know we've been MIA for a while. Life has been crazy. I've been traveling a ton. And, sometimes it's tough to sit down and record and gather your thoughts at a reasonable hour for these shows that come out on the old Walt Disney machine. But we're back. We're going to break down the three most recent episodes of Ahsoka on this episode. It's an Ahsoka affair on this episode of StreamerSZN. And we brought the Star Wars Encyclopedia back to help us break it all down. Mr. Joe Andress is back with us. Joe, welcome back to StreamerSZN. Now, recurring guest host.
Yes, thank you for having me. I've been waiting to talk Ahsoka. I'm dying to talk Ahsoka. There's so much, and it's all so good.
We are going to break down episode 3, 4, and 5 because we haven't done an episode since episode 2 came out. So we are here for the people. We're catching up, which just means episodes 6, 7, and 8 breakdowns are going to be that much better. We have a whole library of these 3 episodes to go back to, along with our Star Wars Encyclopedia and just our fun takes on these last 3 episodes we've had. Because kind of weirdly enough, these 3 episodes really fit together.
They do.
All in one.
Yeah, the first 2 episodes, they premiered together for a reason. They were very closely linked as far as the storylines. And as you said, I'm pleasantly surprised at how cohesive these past 3 episodes have been. Episode 3 seemed like, bordering on filler territory. I don't really like to use that term all too much because I don't think there is filler in TV shows. But, once we got into episode 4,
I have a term to replace filler.
Oh, please.
Where it's not exactly a filler episode, but it helps move the plot along. It's a progressor.
Oh, I like that.
It's a plot progressor.
That. Yeah. It's a setup. Exactly. So, episode 3 was clearly...
Or, it's a trap.
Traps your attention.
We are in for a treat with this episode of StreamerSZN. So before we get into everything, make sure you guys are following us on the socials. StreamerSZN SZN on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and then on TikTok, it's just StreamerSZN Pod. You can follow me on Twitter at KBIZZL311. Follow Joe at J_Andress. That's with 2 S's, 29. Subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. Helps us continue to grow, helps us get back on track after missing a couple weeks, and helps more people find our fun TV, movie, nerd brains out there. You can also follow us on Letterboxd. Just search StreamerSZN for all our movie takes when we get some more movies in the chamber. And of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show moving forward every single week. And all the shows on our network across the board. We need to get to 600 subscribers before the end of the month. Otherwise, my co-host on the Outside the Box podcast, DJ, has to remain in Alaska and will have to take up residency there, which is not ideal. But I will say the Aurora Borealis has really improved his green screen technology. So we are at 549 subscribers as of this recording. So we need 51 more of you younglings to go and subscribe. Or maybe 66 of you. If you got that reference, comment in the YouTube comment section.
You're in the right place.
And be sure to get your merch. PHI Apparel Company, the best in the game. They've got the top tier Philly sports merch, but they also have StreamerSZN merch where you can get that fancy logo that's right above Joe's head on a t-shirt. You can get the SZN Hype Beast hoodie, which is the most comfortable hoodie I own. It is the coolest hoodie to wear when you're going to the movie theater. Stay nice and toasty. If you're Netflix and chilling with your significant other, you know, it's hoodie season right around the corner, Joe.
I'm so ready. I've been sick and tired, especially the last week. It's been so hot here. Like
hoodie season.
I'm ready for
hoodies. I know you got an amazing lady. I'm sure she needs to steal a hoodie from you.
Oh, she already has.
And what better way to do it than to have the hoodie of the podcast that you frequently guest appear on? Yes. Go to phiapparel.co, use code underground, and you get 10% off any and all merch orders. It's the most effective way to support us and everything we're doing. So be sure to go get your merch and then tweet at us, post it, tag us. We'll repost it everywhere. We want to see where you're rocking your merch from. But without any further ado, let's get into Ahsoka Episode 3, and this will happen in post-production, so you'll see it and hear it. Here is our boy Christian Wisniewski's patented spoiler warning for Ahsoka.
Hello, Jedis and Padawans and bounty hunters across the galaxy. This is your spoiler warning for Ahsoka. If you have not watched this week's episode, please pause the podcast, go watch this week's episode, and come back so you can join the journey and stop the Sith. Or am I the Sith? That is for you to decide. Enjoy this week's episode.
There it is. So part 3, Time to Fly. Is Ahsoka an Eagles fan? Comment in the YouTube comment section. Steph Green, Dave Filoni. Ahsoka's an Eagles fan. Time to Fly. I mean, Steph Green.
She's got the Mordai flying around with her, the daughter from Mortis.
I need to hear Ahsoka say "Go Birds." Rosario Dawson, if you can drop a "Go Birds,"
it would be
great.
It'd be huge.
Great.
Please,
be massive for the brand.
Be perfect for the.
I know you don't want to be cheering for the Giants. I know Cory Booker's up there near New York, but like you don't want to be doing that. Come on, get a real team.
Yeah, come on, have some fun.
And I mean, you know, Ahsoka, friends with Harrison Dula, Green.
I mean, we're connecting dots.
The math is
right
math.
Here.
I feel like Pepe Sylvia.
I got to get my board up here.
So part 3, Time to Fly, Steph Green, Dave Filoni. This episode originally aired on August 29th. So Sabine restarts her training under Ahsoka and Hu Yang, who I think is the underrated star of this series.
Oh, he's so good.
The comedic aspect of Hu Yang is unbelievable.
Everything David Tennant touches turns to gold.
Oh.
So it gives me so much joy to see him get so much action in this series and in this episode.
He's like, Sabine, you stink. You're a terrible
brother.
Jedi. Oh, brother, this Mandalorian stinks. Where's Pedro Pascal? Get her out of here. Hu Yang is a menace. And as she struggles with her inability to use the Force, Harrison Dula meets with Chancellor Mon Mothma. Cue up the conspiracy theories of tying Andor into the Mandoverse. It's happening. Get ready. Put on the tinfoil hats.
It's happening.
But she's the chancellor now, and a group of influential senators who there are a bunch that have ties to Clone Wars and Rebels in the animated series. Joe, break it down to old buddy that Harrison Dula absolutely body bagged.
So this guy here, let me see if I
You want to talk about someone who stinks.
I know this guy, the name is eluding me right now, but he epitomizes everything that's wrong with the New Republic right now. They, defeated the Empire. They got the freedom that they wanted, but now they're just rolling over at the first sign of conflict. Like, they say that they don't want a war, but in ignoring Hera's requests, like, they are complicit to another war potentially starting. Like, Hera is trying to help them by, ending something before it begins. But these senators, and the one in particular who's, again, his name is out of my grasp right now.
You know why? Because he's irrelevant.
Exactly. He's a scrub, not worthy.
He's a bona fide scrub. He can't play.
He can't. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but he can't play.
Be nice. It can be true, but let's be nice.
But yeah, in short,
Stephen A. Star Wars.
Got Stephen A. Smith in a Star Wars property as, like, put him on the HoloNet. Put him as, like, a HoloNet sportscaster. How you have those robots playing football in the bar in episode 2.
Need him doing, like, a live show at like, as the I need what's his name, the band Bib Fortuna.
Figure and Dan.
Yeah, I need
the Cantina.
I need the band. Like the video of Stephen A. Smith walking in with the cowboy hat on, and the swagger walking. I need the iconic Star Wars music playing.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, in short, the whole sequence with Hera and Chancellor Mothma and the other senators just goes to show how, and Hera says it herself, they didn't fight in the war, so they don't understand what's at stake here. They don't understand the Thrawn's full capabilities. So it just shows you how ineffectual the New Republic is, which we've gotten a lot of in, Mandalorian season 3 and in this show as well.
Yeah, so we have Hera trying to convince them to gain permission to send Republic forces to Cetos. Despite Mothma's support, the senators refuse to believe that Thrawn and Ezra are alive and deny Hera's request because they're idiots. They're absolute buffoons. Morons. They've been led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived. Ahsoka, Sabine, and Huyang travel to Cetos themselves, where they discover the Eye of Sion, but are intercepted by a squadron of fighters led by Joe. I'll let you say your queen's name.
Shin Hati.
Shin Hati with the body.
Oh my God. Bro. For real though, she's an underrated star of this show. Just how she's able to convey so much with so little and fill in that sort of like rabid, wild, unpredictable antagonist role is fantastic. Her screen presence is second to Ray Stevenson's Balon Skull. That's just, she like I said, she's able to do so much with so little. And the dogfight sequence that we get with her and Ahsoka and Sabine really just leans into her, like, just predictability, and it makes me at the very least want to learn so much more about her.
100%. So it's Shin Hati and Marok, as Morgan Elsbeth uses. She's firing her lasers, using cannons on the Eye of Sion to fire at them. And just as Hu Yang finishes scanning the Eye of Sion, Ahsoka's shuttle takes a direct hit, forcing the group to make an emergency landing on the planet, passing through a pod of Purgle along the way to evade the remaining enemy fighters. Purgle watch, we're here.
Put your Purgle glasses on.
I felt like I was watching Zaboomafoo when they
Oh my
find
gosh,
a new
I know.
species. Purgle. It's like a new Pokemon. It just got added to the Pokedex.
Who is that Pokemon?
It's Wailord. It's got to be Wailord.
It's Wailord.
It's a Purgle. God damn it!
It's just a space Wailord.
It's like the scene when in Pokemon when it's just the sphere and it's like, oh, it's Voltorb. It's Jigglypuff. What the hell?
Top.
So after taking refuge in a forest, Hu Yang gives his full analysis on the Eye of Sion, which classifies as a hyperspace ring designed to travel to another galaxy. Another galaxy?
What?
Huh?
Whole new territory. Well, whole new territory for recent Star Wars. As far as the old canon goes, before Disney took over, a whole new galaxy is not foreign territory, because we had for my Star Wars sickos out there, the Yuzong Vong, who came
Bless
about thank you. They were an alien species from another galaxy who apparently the entire time during the Galactic Civil War, Palpatine was knew about their impending arrival. And then we get in books and comics, after the events of episode 6, they come about and wreak havoc. So this sort of not quite directly references that, but for, long time Star Wars fans who are just knee deep in the lore, it's like, oh man, they're introducing the whole separate galaxy thing again. So it's fascinating that they're going this route.
And it is fun for the just actual shows, excluding anything from the written stuff. Not that that's not, good content to consume,
Right.
But the traditional scrolling up on the screen in a galaxy
Yes.
far, far away is
Now we have
the key
another.
thing. It's always been a, not
Mhm.
multiple, not galaxies. It was not plural. It was just
Yes.
a singular galaxy. Now there's other galaxies to potentially explore, which I think is going to be fascinating as we progress through this show. And then, however, Shinhati soon becomes aware of their attempt to hide, prompting Balon Skull to dispatch his forces into the woods and hunt them down. That whole scene, Joe, reminded me so much of House of the Dragon. It reminded me very much of scenes of Game of Thrones that I've seen. 'Cause I've never
Yes.
watched Game of Thrones, but if
Yes.
you subscribe and get us to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, I take my plunge and I watch season 1 of Game of Thrones for the people.
There
that
you
is
go.
our gift for the people on this show.
There
Is
you
once we
go.
get to 1,000 subscribers, I start watching Game of Thrones.
Make it happen.
It gave off House of the Dragon vibes, though.
Yeah.
On that cliff near the water, a darker ambiance, and then just Balon Skull saying, "Go get their asses."
The cadence of everything.
Oh,
Like
it was masterpiece.
Yes.
It's not going to be one of the iconic moments from this show, but it's a moment that needs so much more attention and so much more just job well done to the writers, to the directors,
Yes.
to producers who put that particular scene together, because that is just going to live rent-free in my mind, and it really just sets the tone for what this show really is.
It's and like I said before, a lot of it comes down to Ray Stevenson's screen presence. He doesn't waste a single line in this show. Every single one of his performances is spot on. It is intense. It is with intent, and you can feel how much of a threat he is, and even especially so at the end of episode 3.
Yeah, I thought this episode was so well done. Like you said, the dogfight that happens, them in the forest and everything that leads
Ahsoka
into what
on
we
her
get.
ship.
Ugh. The spacesuit.
How peak like Clone Wars is that? Like that is Dave Filoni getting his cartoon brain working and going, how out there can I get this to
Mm-hmm.
where it is cool, fun, and serves to show us how strong Ahsoka is. That whole
Yeah.
sequence accomplished all three of those things.
It was so well done, so well put together, and like you said, like it wasn't a filler episode at all.
Yeah.
It really progresses to where we go in episode 4, where we go in this most recent episode, in episode 5. Like it is such a perfect like bridge between the first 2 episodes and then episodes 4 and 5 that continues over from the end of episode 2 and so much so bleeds into episode 4.
Yes.
Just so well done. Joe, as we do on this show, you came on for the season preview, so you've never gotten to give a score. We score every episode of any show we watch in any movie.
Okay.
Scale 1 to 10. You can use decimals. You don't have to. I typically do. But on a scale of 1 to 10, what are you giving episode 3, or part 3, I should say, Time to Fly of Ahsoka?
So for this one, I don't think I want to come out and say I don't think it was bad. I think it was a good episode. I enjoyed it. I don't think it was as strong as the first 2. And I think a lot of that had to do with its length. This one was significantly shorter than the first 2 parts. But it had a lot of good stuff, man. It had a lot of Sabine and Ahsoka with their training, continuing their dynamic. The dogfight action was awesome. So I think, and the Purrgil sequence was, captivating. So I think for that reason, I'm going to give it just shy of an 8. I'm going to give it a 7.8.
I like that assessment. I'm pretty much right there with you. I gave it a 7.9.
Okay.
I think it was really well done. There's so many like fun, awesome moments that just like build and carry over into where we go. So it makes it that much more of an important, pivotal episode. Which 7.8 plus 7.9 is 7.85. And in our math world, that rounds up because that's what our math teachers taught us to do all the way back in kindergarten. So that's a 7.9 out of 10 for part 3, Time to Fly of Ahsoka. Let's get into episode 4, part 4, Fallen Jedi. Peter Ramsey, Dave Filoni, you absolute sicko freaks, you absolute menaces. I did my pure, genuine reaction to what we will talk about. It's over on our TikTok. That shout out to Brian, our good pal. He said, you need to do a reaction. Got me the timestamp and everything. I mic dropped. I literally mic dropped.
Go see it at StreamerSZN on TikTok.
Yes, go check that out. But let's get into part 4 because what an episode. Just Disney Plus loves to cook, no matter if it's Marvel or Star Wars. Episode 4 is the time to cook.
They right in the middle. They give you a bombshell right in the middle. That way, if you've been watching, you've got all the more reason to keep watching. And if you haven't watched for some reason, you've got a reason to get caught up. And episode 4 did that like no other. It starts out, catches up with Ahsoka and Sabine and Hu Yang in the forest. Hu Yang's repairing the ship. Ahsoka and Sabine are trying to communicate with Hera. And they really waste no time getting into the action. Shin Hati and the rest of Balon's, droids and assassins sneak up on Hu Yang, and we get to see Hu Yang in action. This 25,000-year-old droid who, don't forget, has been teaching combat and building lightsabers for those 25,000 years, got into an awesome action sequence against one of those droids. I thought that was killer. Like seeing him fight off that droid like that, and then have the presence of mind to flick off the power to warn Ahsoka and Sabine.
So good. So good. So, Ahsoka thinks about the implications of reaching Thrawn and Ezra, giving Sabine pause since she remains determined to find her friend. Moments later, they're attacked by several of Skull's forces, but they're able to dispatch them, fearing that Morgan Elsbeth and Balon Skull will acquire the coordinates to Thrawn's location. Ahsoka and Ren head to their base, but are intercepted by Shin Hati and Marek. Ahsoka kills Marek. That boy dusted. It was like Thanos snapped and said, bye-bye. Which I think did not get enough light into what that actually meant. Because clearly, if you watch the Clone Wars, you know, if you're a sicko who loved the Witches of Dathomir arc of Clone Wars, you really know. The fact that, you know, Marek was built up to be, could this be Ezra, you know, on the dark side? Could this be, you know, a video game character that everybody's been waiting to see? No, it was Witches of Dathomir magic that Morgan Elsbeth is just a certified sicko and gave a fucking Inquisitor lightsaber to. Which I want to ask you about this because I saw this. Shout out to Robbie Fox, who hosts My Mom's Basement over at Barstool. They did a great analysis of this, and there was a good clip. And say what you want, it is very funny though. Dave Portnoy is a huge Star Wars fan, and he brought up a very like interesting point when it comes to the new era of Star Wars in live action. How do we feel about somebody like Marek having a lightsaber, Joe? Because back in the day, having a lightsaber was like, you were like the biggest of the bad. Whether you were a Jedi, you're a Sith, having a lightsaber meant you reached a status level where like you were a certified badass. Now we've seen a bunch of, you know, lesser characters wielding lightsabers. How do we feel about lightsabers kind of just being dished out to lower level tier characters now?
So it's tricky because, you know, there is a sort of, I don't know, distinction to having a lightsaber because it either means you know, came up as a Jedi, you passed the necessary trials, you went and found your kyber crystal, built your lightsaber, all that, you did your training. Or it means, you know, you fell to the dark side and you went through all the necessary avenues there. But when it comes to, you know, Marek and, you know, even Balon and Shin, I think that there is a loose enough justification to where it isn't devaluing the importance of having a lightsaber. For Marek, we, you know, clearly he was an Inquisitor. He has an Inquisitor's lightsaber, and he's got the armor, be it all rusted, and, you know, resurrected or not, all the Inquisitors had lightsabers. So, you know, we've already seen groups of people who, you know, maybe aren't full-fledged Sith or full-fledged Jedi for that matter, get their hands on a lightsaber, wield it with the best of them. So I don't personally take as much issue with it. And so long as it has some sort of justification, because, you know, this is a show that is doing its own thing. Clearly, you know, it's called Ahsoka. Ahsoka and the other members of the Ghost crew are its focused. We don't have to be beaten over the head with, you know, reasonings as to why these people have lightsabers or these people have powers, this and that. So I personally don't take issue with it. I think if you're not as into Star Wars as some people, you can see it and just go, oh, you know, this person has a lightsaber, you know, they're clearly not to be messed with. And, you know, if you are super into it, there's enough there, you know about the Inquisitors, you know about, you know, how Jedi can break off and become Dark Jedi or Sith, what have you. I think there's enough of that, enough explanation there, be it implicit or explicit, to where it's not as big of a deal, to me at least.
Yeah. I do find it interesting though. Like it is a fun thing to kind of like delve yourself
Oh,
into
absolutely.
and like figure out like, okay, what makes it so that this character who we're just getting introduced to did enough to wield a lightsaber the way that they're wielding it.
Yeah.
And I think Merrick is just an interesting character. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised if we got a comic or a book or a short story and something to where we see Morgan, come upon Merrick. He was maybe defeated by a Jedi years ago, and she resurrects him, and his
we also know
lightsaber.
Darth Vader wasn't afraid to kill Inquisitors.
That is also true.
That's where my brain went, is that it's like,
is-
this is a former Inquisitor that
Yes,
Darth Vader got his hands on,
he is
or
known to
hands
do that.
around and floated into the air. And
So it wouldn't surprise me if it was just, she just came upon a dead Inquisitor, or like was on a former battle site, and he still had his lightsaber by his side. So,
and it is interesting, the lightsaber that he did have, because he had that circular.
it's the classic Inquisitor lightsaber, which again, it's like, oh, if you watched Rebels, you see it and you're like, oh, that's an Inquisitor, former or otherwise.
Plus dual-sided, and we all know Witches of Dathomir.
Very tinfoil hats going on.
Hello, with some pointy little horns there. So Merrick gets murked. R.I.P. Merrick, gone but not forgotten. And continues on alone. Does Ahsoka, while Sabine stays behind to hold off Shin Hati, who realizes that Sabine cannot wield the Force. Ahsoka reaches Balin's skull, and the two engage in a duel, which, again, very Game of Thrones, very House of the Dragon energy in this battle. Such a good, like, lightsaber battle between those two. Like,
it was killer. The way that they mapped out Balin Skull's choreography and his fighting style was exceptional. Like you said, with it seeming very Game of Thrones-esque, you replace his lightsaber, like a longsword or a claymore, and it works perfectly, all the same. His like heavy swings, the way he puts his full body into everything, just the way he like steps intentionally, this all that. It was such a well done duel.
Ahsoka is able to retrieve the map, but she tosses it aside after it burns her hand. Balin's skull overpowers and sends Ahsoka plummeting into the ocean. Ren holds the map at gunpoint. And I mean, if we want to date back to episode 3, Ahsoka was an astronaut. Now she's in the ocean. For all my music fans out there.
Oh, no.
Ahsoka felt like an astronaut in the ocean. I'm just saying.
Music.
Sabine holds the map at gunpoint, but Balin manipulates her into handing it over by promising that she will see Ezra Bridger again. And after Thrawn's location is revealed, Balin destroys the map to ensure they aren't followed and boards the Eye of Sion with
Cheeky
Shin
little
Hati.
KOTOR reference.
Yes. And Sabine as their prisoner. A squadron of New Republic fighters led by Hera Syndulla arrives at Cetos and tries but fails to stop the Eye of Sion from jumping into hyperspace. And if anybody's wondering why I'm saying it like that, it's because what I'm reading from, it's italicized. That's my way of italicizing vocally. Meanwhile, brace yourselves. Ahsoka awakens in the world between worlds, where she is met by her former master, Anakin Skywalker.
Your boy!
Hayden Christensen, who, going into this, I knew I had read an article that Hayden did new voiceover for Ahsoka. I did not expect him to be full-fledged in the flesh.
We got him in all his glory.
Ladies and
Jedi
gentlemen,
mullet.
we got him.
Jedi mullet, Revenge of the Sith robes, his OG lightsaber at his waist, like,
and Darth Vader's theme plays
right at the end.
Hearing snips in live action was something I did not know I needed.
It was otherworldly. It like literally 15 years.
It was world
in
between worldly.
a
Ha ha!
like 15 years in the making, so to speak. Like, that's how long we've been tied to these two characters, like, as we know them. You know, Anakin and Ahsoka. It's the very same as Obi-Wan and Anakin. And just to see it in live action, just for that brief moment at the end of that episode, was so special.
Made me drop the mic.
Oh, yeah.
Did not expect that to happen whatsoever. I did love the theories.
And they were
waiting for
rampant.
this week's episode.
Yeah.
That it was the brother, which you and I talked about that whole sequence on our season preview. That would have been something. It was something that not enough people were talking about, because back in episode 1, you can hear a voice say he's the chosen one, which is something the brother said. I mean, there's still potential for that whole
it can still
plot
happen.
arc to occur in the show.
If you don't think Dave Filoni would do it, he would.
He would.
He absolutely would.
This episode is just a masterpiece from start to finish. The Anakin reveal, the lightsaber duels.
Yes.
The, all pun intended here, cliffhanger. Where it's like, where the hell is Ahsoka at as she falls off a cliff? Just a masterpiece by Peter Ramsey and Dave Filoni.
They killed it. They really did. I mean, you start out, and this was like, for anyone who thought that there was too much like talking or exposition in the first two, even the third episode, this one just starts out with action. You've got Hugh Yang fighting off the droids, then Ahsoka and Sabine taking on Shin and the rest of the forces. I thought that Sabine and Shin's duel was pretty awesome. The way that was choreographed was good. We got to see a little bit of Sabine's growth and her learning just a little bit from Ahsoka's training in episode 3. And also learning from her first duel with Shin that got her impaled. It put some respect on Qui-Gon Jinn's name, but it was so solid. And then going to Ahsoka and Balon was just incredible. Seeing how overpowering Balon is as a duelist, and getting to see
it's
Ahsoka.
Time to duel.
Get your Yu-Gi-Oh cards out.
You activated my trap card.
And getting to see Ahsoka with, against someone on or possibly above her own skill level was just fascinating to see in live action. We got to see her and Morgan go off against each other in season 2 of The Mandalorian, but really getting to see her clash lightsabers with someone who is from the Clone Wars era just felt really special.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode from start to finish. It was mind-blowing.
Yes.
Getting
to see the Eye of Sion take off, like, what a visual that was.
Unreal. I watched this after going to a concert. Like, the post-concert high going into this was just like pure euphoria.
It was so killer.
It was incredible. Which leads us to the score for episode 4, #bars. Joe, your official score for part 4, Fallen Jedi of Ahsoka.
This one was so good. This one was so good. I'm trying to think of what I gave. I gave episodes 1 and 2 individually pretty good scores. With just everything this episode did from beginning to end, the action, getting to see the Eye of Sion take off, taking in that threat, and just how special it was to see Hayden Christensen. I'm trying to weigh this in comparison to my impending score for episode 5. I'm going to give this a 9.5. 9.0. Even 9.
My score is in the 9s as well. I'm giving it a 9.2.
Okay.
I just love this episode.
So
that's the
good.
easiest, most simple way to say it. I loved this episode. Like, this is one of those episodes that I think, we've talked about different shows on this podcast before where there's those iconic episodes, and one that comes to mind is the episode of The Last of Us with Nick Offerman. Like, that episode was just unbelievable, just like no notes, mwah.
Yeah.
This was like close to that pantheon.
Oh yeah.
Of like no notes, just absolutely ate, left no crumbs, left you on the edge of your seat for an entire week after revealing one of the most iconic Star Wars characters of all time.
It was such a painfully long week too.
So good. So 9 plus a 9.2 is a 9.1.
We take
Cracking
that.
the 9s on this show is big time.
Yes.
So shout out to Peter Ramsey and Dave Filoni racking up a 9.
Killed it.
On episode 4 of Ahsoka Fallen Jedi, which brings us to this week's episode.
Oh man.
The Dave Filoni masterclass.
Oh.
He wrote and directed this one, part 5, Shadow Warrior.
And what did I say? You can clip it if you want. Back in the season preview, this is the episode to watch out for. He wrote and directed episode 1, clearly, beginning of the show. Waited until episode 5 to do it again, and man, did he deliver.
On so many levels. So let's get into it. It's fresh in our minds. Part 5, Shadow Warrior, Ahsoka. Let's get it. While investigating Ahsoka's disappearance along with his mother, Jason Syndulla senses that Ahsoka is in the world between worlds. Joe, talk to the people about Jason and why he can do this.
So Jason, for those who are not familiar with Star Wars Rebels, Jason is the son of Hera Syndulla and Jedi Kanan Jarrus.
He calls Hera mom. I call her mommy. Waka
Yo!
waka. Bonk, 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 bonk.
So Kanan, he was a Jedi, former Jedi, whatever you want to call him, who rode with the Ghost Crew and was very close with Hera. Before he joined up with the Ghost Crew, Kanan went by the name Caleb Doom during the Clone Wars. He was the Padawan to, I believe it was Depa Billaba, who we see in the beginning.
Hubba is what I say.
Who we actually see the two of them in the beginning of the Bad Batch. I want to say it's the very first episode. We see Order 66 happen.
They love running Order 66 back on our heads.
Dave
As if
Filoni,
we don't have emotional childhood trauma enough from real life. Dave Filoni's like, no, you're gonna watch new angles, new lost footage of Order 66, and you're gonna relive this massacre every day of your adult life.
That man will never get tired of giving us new angles, new perspectives of Order 66. And honestly, I get it, because in terms of one of the most important events in Star Wars canon, like, that's it. That is not only the end of the Republic, but the end of the Jedi Order. So, we see in the Bad Batch, we see Caleb, Kanan, and how he deals with Order 66, how he loses his master, and then, years and years pass. He meets up with Hera. That's actually featured in an incredible book by John Jackson Miller called A New Dawn. I sincerely recommend reading it if you haven't, if you're into that sort of thing. And then we see them in Rebels. Kanan, is hiding his Jedi powers from himself, from the Empire. And then Ezra comes along and he's sort of thrust into action, back into his old life, reconnects with the Force, and is the master to Ezra Bridger for really the majority of, almost the entirety of Rebels, until he unfortunately perishes towards the very end of the show, attempting to save the Ghost crew from an explosion. So this is our first name drop of him in Ahsoka. Only took him 5 episodes, but he is the father of Jason and is the reason why Jason has, you know, from what we've seen, a low but, you know, pretty astute connection to the Force.
Yes. So it reveals his own connection with the Force by doing this. Here's the lightsaber duel going on underwater. Anakin explains to Ahsoka that he had been watching her through the Force and deduces that her loss with Balon Skull is partially due to her unresolved guilt over the events that drove them apart, and that he's there to finish her training.
Yes.
When that happened, I was just like, huh?
Shocked.
That was the moment where I was like, okay, this is actually Anakin. And
yes. This is
not
not
some
this
sort
is
of
not
mind
the brother.
trick.
This is not a deception. Yeah.
So Ahsoka loses a duel with Anakin and relives fragments of her past during the goddamn Clone Wars.
We did it. We won.
Ladies and gentlemen,
we won.
We won.
We got live action Clone Wars.
We did it. We did it.
I'm still reeling. I cannot.
When that flashback started to occur and I saw what was going on, I said, there ain't no way.
Dude, the way they like shot that and just sequenced it masterfully, because it's all purple. You don't even know what's going on. Then you see Ahsoka, you can barely see that it's her when she's younger. And then the moment you begin to realize this is a young Ahsoka, the first clone trooper runs towards the screen and you are just inundated with Clone Wars imagery. And then we get Hayden Christensen, Anakin, in live action in his Clone Wars armor.
Clone Wars haircut,
all its
everything.
Glory.
Everything.
And
plus, let's also not forget, let's rewind a little bit too. Anakin says, you have 2 choices, to live or to die.
Yes.
And when he says to live, he's got his blue lightsaber.
Yes, he does.
Very pivotal point there. But we get young Ahsoka, which everybody.
Oh, man.
Ariana Greenblatt is a fucking rock star.
She's been tearing it up lately.
She is young Gamora.
Yes.
In Avengers Endgame.
What did it cost?
Everything. She was young Nina Rosario in the Heights. Let's not erase that pivotal role that she plays in such a moving song in that movie. She was in the Barbie movie.
Mm-hmm.
And now she is young Ahsoka. Talk about a resume.
Right?
Talk about a resume.
Like back to back almost, you know?
She is 16 years old.
I wish.
She is 16 years old. Like, talk about just an unbelievable run that homegirl is on. She was born in 2007.
Stop it. Stop it right now. I know, listen, I know not to make you sound ancient, but I know there's a bit of an age gap between you and I, Kyle. But hearing that, like, she's younger than my little brother. And my little brother, we got like a 6-year age gap. So that's just, for her to have that amount of success at such a young age, that's special. Like, so happy for her.
Avengers Infinity War in 2018 when she was 11.
Crazy.
In the Heights in 2021. And now Ahsoka and Barbie in 2023.
That's so cool.
Along with some other projects that she was in as well, but those are the 4 that are like her Mount Rushmore so far.
Watch
at
out
16.
for her,
like,
man.
How do you top that?
She is gonna, you know, if all goes well, she's going to be one of the next big names in Hollywood. I'm sure of it.
She was also the voice of young Velma in Scoob in 2020.
Oh, no kidding. So a little bit of voice work for her, too.
Shout out Nick Castellanos. But to see her as young Ahsoka, to see young Ahsoka in live action
Oh,
was something I didn't realize I needed until last
And-
night when I was watching this episode.
they nailed it in every sense with her appearance, getting her montrals down, her Padawan braid and other, accessories on her head. The outfit was perfect. Her lightsabers they had to a T. And then she just, again, speaking to the talent of Ariana Greenblatt, like, got the cadence of Clone Wars Ahsoka down perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really it's a little tough to realize when you're watching the animated series, but you really get a sense this time around for how young she is. Like, she is a child soldier in the Jedi Order, and that's a lot of what these flashbacks touch on, like how she was trained to be a soldier. She wasn't trained to be a keeper of the peace like all the other Jedi, like Obi-Wan, like Anakin, if briefly. So it just the performance perfectly encapsulated that.
Just an unbelievable run for the queen, the 16-year-old queen.
She's
Ariana
killing
Greenblatt.
it.
So we get live action Clone Wars. Let's just break this all down because there was so much that we've probably missed and we'll have to go back and watch.
So
we
Go
got
ahead.
so much. The transition scene, first of all,
was
of
gorgeous.
Anakin walking, and then it shifts to Darth Vader.
Oh my
was
gosh.
just, I can't
Popped
get enough
off.
of it.
They popped off. They really did. Also, part of it, I don't know. I'm curious to know if that was a physical suit, because it is literally blink and you miss it. Like,
Mhm.
to have Hayden or whoever really suit up in that very complicated Darth Vader suit for maybe 3 seconds total of screen time. Like, it's cool to see, but it's funny to think
Yes.
about for me.
100%. We really ate here. We got live
We
action
feasted,
Death Watch.
bro.
Darth Maul's Mando
Oh.
Corps
So good.
in live action
Yes.
was everything I needed and then some.
Yeah.
Give me
It was-
all the Darth Maul crumbs. We got that little
I
that
need
little
it.
droid
I'm
earlier in
starving.
the season that Shin
Yes.
Hati had. Now we get Death Watch. I am the J. Jonah Jameson of the Star Wars universe. Bring me Spider Maul.
I need him.
Oh, just see the live action Death Watch helmets
Oh yeah,
were just
they looked incredible.
amazing.
The Spike Darth Maul style helmet, like, I was surprised we didn't see like a brief look at like Gar Saxon, the main commando who we see in the Clone Wars and we see in Rebels. But just everything about those two flashbacks. And I thought that, to get into the storytelling of it, I thought it was just a beautiful decision they made to have the first flashback be one of Ahsoka's very first battles. It was taken from the Storm over Ryloth episode of the Clone Wars, episode 19, season 1. And, we hear Ahsoka in this episode, in Ahsoka episode 5, say, it's her fault all of the clones are hurt and like that they lost so many troopers. And that is directly from that episode. It's one of her first times leading a squadron. She disobeys Anakin's orders and they pay for it. So to start with that, and then to shift over in the next one to the Siege of Mandalore. So season 7 of the Clone Wars, the very end of it, the very end of Ahsoka's journey in that show, to her, like, so much more experienced and seasoned, and we get to see Captain Rex in his Phase 2 armor. I thought that was such a beautiful decision to have, her beginning and her end in that era.
You brought him up. Live action.
I know.
Rex.
I know.
How you doing, Tamira Morrison? How you doing?
So good. We see him very briefly, more so from the back in his Phase 1 clone armor, and he looks incredible. And then to see to get that close-up shot of him in his armor, and it's brief, and all he does is say, like, come on. But it just means so much to have an original character from the Clone Wars translated to live action like this. I mean, it's the same way with Ahsoka. We've got these characters who started as, sort of niche creations. Not as many people watch the animated series, Clone Wars and Rebels, as they do the movies. So to see them really branch out and take a risk and really, trust the audience and do something special for the fans, it just means so much, and it's so wild to see.
The whole sequence was just so well done, top to bottom, and then we get sassy Anakin.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Ahsoka drops the line where, she refuses Anakin's teachings, determined to not be held back by the past, and says that Anakin is more powerful than he could even imagine or anyone could ever imagine. He goes, so this is what this is about? He was very like Tim Robinson. You sure about that?
Oh, man. It was great. And it goes to show how comfortable Hayden feels in the role now. Like, he got an inordinate amount of hate for the prequels. And was some of it justified? Maybe, but it shouldn't have been nearly as intense as it was. Like, come on. So to see him really, like, let loose in this role and have fun, it means the world to me. It really does. And it's so glad it makes me so glad to see everyone embracing him and just the fun of it all.
It's eerily similar, like him and Andrew Garfield. It's eerily similar.
Exactly. That is a perfect comp. Yes.
It is fun again to like root for those guys and like realize that it wasn't them personally who did it. No. It's just how that particular project they were in was portrayed.
Yeah.
But sassy Anakin happens. He then says, "Oh, take it from the top. We're starting over." He's
that
like,
was so
"I gave you two options: to live, red lightsaber, to die." And I said, "Huh?" Blown away.
So sick. Oh man.
Like, that was unreal.
It was phenomenal the way that it was conveyed, because in episode 3, like towards the end, he is Darth Vader in that moment. But this is like one of the few times we actually get to see him like act like a Sith without all the armor. Like, he is Darth Vader despite the armor in those last moments in Revenge of the Sith. And to see him sort of, at his full power in his youth, in that place, the red blade with his old lightsaber hilt, it's just insane. It's so cool. Like, it is a dream for Star Wars fans like me who follow this stuff religiously to see this new perspective.
I saw a tweet, and I apologize for not remembering who it was, but somebody said the duel that happens right after, and we go back to the world between worlds, that's if Ahsoka was on Mustafar.
Yes. Oh, man. You're absolutely right.
Because
what a
great, like, comparison there. Like, nobody's going to be trying to get the high ground.
Nope. Just the two of them.
Anakin doesn't burn.
No.
And have to put on the suit. and he's just Darth Vader as a
Yeah.
human.
I never thought of it that way. That would have been incredible to see. It
Like,
would have played out so differently.
That is like the ultimate Star Wars what if. Like, what if Ahsoka was on Mustafar instead of Obi-Wan?
Man. I mean, for all intents and purposes, we saw it. We saw the closest we'll get to it.
And it's like ultimate role reversal. Instead of Anakin's master being there, he's the master and dueling his
she's
Padawan.
the apprentice. And then what you don't get from Obi-Wan is we see a glint of darkness from Ahsoka at the end of that duel. I saw it somewhere on Twitter. Apparently,
Sith eyes.
Yes, her eyes change. I didn't notice it in the moment, but it's like, oh my gosh! Like, you want to talk about Anakin going? You have to learn what I'm teaching you. She learned something, all right.
You gonna learn today?
She learned one of the biggest things from Anakin, and that is his dark side. So to see that, and Anakin met with that ferocity instead of Obi-Wan's brand of peace and wanting to just go back to the way things were. It's such a awesome dichotomy between the two duels.
Instead of realize, it's Sith eyes, Sith eyes. Or red eyes.
They need some eye drops is what they need.
Take a nap.
They need
go to sleep.
They need some eye drops and to stop looking at that damn phone all the time.
Put some blue light glasses on. Oh, this is a great segue. We have our awesome sponsor, Tomahawk Shades. Best small batch eyewear in the game. Go get some blue light glasses, some sunglasses from Tomahawk Shades. Fraction of the price of the big retailers.
Listen,
they're the best in the game. They're the only sunglasses and blue light glasses I wear, and that's not just because they sponsor us. It's because they are comfortable on my eyeballs, and they're a fraction of the price. Plus, when you go to check out, whether you download the Tomahawk Shades app, which if you download the app, you can claim a free pair of sunglasses. Who doesn't like free?
That's a great deal.
When you go to check out and you get your blue light glasses so you don't have Sith eyes, you get your sunglasses so you don't get your eyes burned out by the double suns and the double moons, you can use promo code USP for 25% off your order at tomahawkshades.com. Support our sponsors. They do a great job, and they're not just dishing out 25% off promo codes to anybody. TomahawkShades.com, promo code USP. Protect your eyes and don't let them turn into Sith eyes with blue light glasses that you should be wearing when you're watching Ahsoka. Shout out Tomahawk Shades. That was a great sponsor segue.
I got you. Listen, if Palpatine and like Anakin and all them had those shades, the galaxy would be at peace. It
would be the this is society if meme.
Yes, exactly.
Ahsoka ends up winning the duel, accepting that she wasn't part of the reason for Anakin's downfall, and she chooses to live, knocks his lightsaber down, it falls down, goes boom, and Ahsoka is recovered by Hera's crew, but now Hera is contacted by Mon Mothma, who informs her that New Republic forces are en route to take her and Ahsoka into custody. Just before they do, Ahsoka recruits a pod of Purgle watch.
Purgle goggles on.
To take her to Ezra while Hera stays behind. Ahsoka did her best Dory impression in this episode. Ahsoka speaks whale.
Dude, the second...
Take me to Ezra and Thrawn.
Oh man, the second that the Purgle, like the one, started to open up its mouth, I'm like, oh, Filoni, you mad, man. Like, you're really gonna have him get in its mouth. Like, because I'm thinking, like, oh, I guess they could land on it, maybe. Like, I don't know if that would necessarily work, like glide right off its back. But as soon as the Purgle started opening up its mouth, I'm like, oh, that's very funny. It's very Star Wars.
Nom nom babies.
Yes, it's very Star Wars, to have them do that. It's just too funny.
It was so funny. I mean, we know where they're going. Also,
Yes.
the forces coming, the New Republic forces. Was that commander like anybody significant? I couldn't tell.
No, not that I know of. I think it was just a rando New Republic captain, just like the one in the very beginning that Balon kills. I don't think there's anyone very significant. But we do get the sense that Carson Teva really
Fine, I'll tell you, but you're not gonna believe me.
we get a sense that he has a pretty good role in the New Republic. Like, he's pretty well respected. I would like to learn more about that personally. And seeing him sort of reason with the that New Republic captain was nice, because it's so infuriating, like, and intentionally so, to see the New Republic be just so difficult and stubborn.
Yeah. Carson Teva is like, he's an ultimate glue guy.
He is. Yeah.
Glue guy for just Star Wars, but also glue guy for the Mandoverse.
Yeah.
It's to a T.
It's very interesting to me because, for those who don't know, the series of Disney Plus shows was supposed to play out very differently. After season 2 of The Mandalorian, there was supposed to be Rangers of the New Republic, which was going to be a show featuring Gina Carano, and I'm sure the guy who plays Carson Teva and a couple other people. But that got unceremoniously canned after, Gina Carano's personal...
Rip Bozo.
Yeah. Rest in piss, honestly.
Galactic piss.
Yes. After her personal beliefs were brought to light, that show was unceremoniously and quite quietly canceled, because they just had no way of reasonably doing it anymore. So a lot of what we see in the Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian Season 3 and in Ahsoka with the New Republic involvement is a relic of that cancellation. We mentioned it in the season preview, the stuff with Dr. Pershing and that one Imperial spy, like, that reeks of a show that was meant to really, like, dive into the espionage and whatnot of the New Republic as a whole. But they found a way to make it work and tie it in with everything else without like treading over the more important story beats.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this episode was unbelievable.
Killer. It was a feast for the eyes, especially for Clone Wars fans. I mean, everything in the flashbacks, everything about Ahsoka's design that I mentioned, Anakin's, Captain Rex.
Bald.
I do.
We can't go this episode without talking about bald
Yeah,
Ahsoka.
no, we got to bring it up. When it switches to her on the ship after they brought her out of the water, which, real quick, I thought that little like baptism scene where she was like being submerged by the water, very cool, very symbolic.
A lot of people comparing that to Lord of the Rings, by the way, on Twitter.
For the longest time, the very end of Rebels, its epilogue had Ahsoka all clad in white robes with a staff, very reminiscent of Gandalf the White. And, people call her, like, unofficially Ahsoka the White, or at least I think unofficially. And, that was supposed to be the case at the very end of Rebels. With Ahsoka, we see that, switched up just a little bit, but we're there now. She's got her white robes. She seems a little bit more relaxed and, in tune with herself. But the moment it cut to her on the ship, laying there after they pulled her out of the water, it took me a second. And I'm watching, I'm like, why? Something looks wrong. And then I realized where her forehead stops and her montrals start, all of her little accessories were gone. And I felt like I shouldn't be watching. I felt like it was a private moment. I felt like I had walked in on somebody changing, and it just felt so wrong because I don't think we've ever seen that. Like the Twi'leks, it's one thing. We've seen them, their head tails. You know, the Hera usually has her little covering on. Most of the women Twi'leks do anyway. But like the male ones, we've seen their head tails bare, whatever. The Togruta, which Ahsoka is, they always have some kind of decoration, and it's, you know, it's clear that it is a decoration. It's not part of their being. But there's always something breaking up the design of their montrals and the differing color of their skin. We see it with Ahsoka, we see it with Shakti. And it was a very, very bold choice for them to show it in live action.
Joe, was it bold or was it bald?
It was violently bald. I mean, credit to the costume designers and makeup artists for, you know, having it blend in, maybe not seamlessly, but for having it look natural at the very least. Because man, was that just like shocking to see. It felt so wrong.
The other line that I have to bring up from earlier in this episode is when Ahsoka says, "I won't fight you," and then Anakin says, "I've heard that before."
Yes.
Kick back to the original movies. Hello,
Yes.
Luke Skywalker. How you doing? I will not fight you, father. Veins.
Dave Filoni went out of his mind. Like, Dave Filoni locked himself in a room, put every single piece of Star Wars media on at the same time, and then wrote a masterpiece. Because that's what this episode really is. When it comes down to it, it is a masterpiece from wall to wall, in storytelling, in visuals, in just everything about it. The nostalgia of it, which, you know, it is a factor, and it is something that, you know, these franchises lean on. You know, you can discredit it all you want, but it works and it's fun. And that's really what this is about. Like, as long as it's done well, it's fun. As long as it's not the flash at the very end where they're parading around their digital corpses, it's, you know, and it serves a purpose, then it's a lot of fun. And that's what they did with with all of the Clone Wars sequences. And just, you know, the rest of the episode, all the other bits were fantastic. I mean, I feel like everything we could have asked for and more.
I also love when one of the best video memes of all time just pops up all the time. Somebody tweeted this episode, Dave Filoni ... and it's the guy who's, because he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
He is. Yes, absolutely he is.
Ugh, like, I also saw the scene where it shifts real quick to Darth Vader when Anakin's walking towards Ahsoka, and they inserted the UFC reaction of all the broadcasters, like Joe Rogan, like, oh my
losing
God.
their minds. Like, honestly, though, I forget exactly at what moment it was, but I'm sitting on my couch. I'm eating breakfast. You know, I got a Jimmy Dean sausage egg croissant by my side that's going cold. And just during the entire Clone Wars sequence, I'm sat up, edge of my seat, flailing my arms because I cannot contain myself. Just everything about it was phenomenal.
And I mean, this episode, we got an Obi-Wan name drop. We got
Yes.
a General Organa name drop.
Yes, a little bit of Leia.
Like, just so good, top to bottom. Like, Dave Filoni absolutely cooked.
I know.
My boy just won like Iron Chef of a galaxy
yeah.
far, far away.
Oh yeah.
So Joe, your score for Ahsoka, episode 5,
It's
The Shadow Warrior.
It's an impossible question, really, because like where do we go from here? This is such a high that like the rest of the show has a huge challenge ahead of it. I think that they'll meet the challenge in, living up to expectations with Thrawn, Ezra, all that. That said, with just everything they did beginning to end, it was 49 minutes of
There's a reason that they released this in movie theaters.
I know. It was just unadulterated Star Wars greatness. Like, I know that we're all living on the adrenaline rush of what happened, but weeks, months, years from now, this episode is going to be viewed as quite possibly one of the best pieces of Star Wars media ever made, without question. For that reason, I am giving it a 9.8. A 9.8.
There's only been one other time I've done this.
No. Are you gonna?
It was during The Last of Us.
Are you gonna do what I think you're gonna do?
This broke the scale. This was an 11 out of 10.
Stop!
This is an 11 out of 10.
Bro!
Flawless.
Oh, man.
Incredible.
It deserves it.
No
Honestly,
notes.
it
Top
deserves
to
it.
bottom. Unbelievable episode of television. Like, for the true Clone Wars sickos, we won.
It was everything you could have asked for and more. Like, the most you could have asked for, aside from what we got, was like Ewan McGregor in his Obi-Wan Clone Wars armor as well. Like, that is the only thing for me that could have sent this to another galaxy, if you will. So I think that's incredible. I think that's completely justified.
It's an 11 out of 10 for me. Just blew me away. Which 11 plus 9.8 divided by 2 is 10.4. This episode broke the scale overall.
Oh, man.
It broke the scale. Dave Filoni, well done, sir. Job
Yes.
well done. Bravo.
Killed it.
10.4 out of 10 for Ahsoka, episode 5, Shadow Warrior. We have 3 episodes left. Next week is Jennifer Getzinger, who we all know from The Devil Wears Prada,
Yes.
Sex and the City.
It's going to be a fashion show with Thrawn and Ezra.
Ahsoka's going to get her headpiece back.
She's going to
Will she get her staff is the real question.
Dude, it's like, them playing with the whole Ahsoka the White thing, like sort of switching it up a little bit from how we saw in that Rebels epilogue. Like, I wonder where this is really going to end for her. Like, is she going to get her staff? Is she really going to, is she going to be the Jedi she was always capable of being by the end of this? I think she has a good shot to.
And then the penultimate episode is our Geeta Patel.
Yes.
Fast and the Furious.
Fast and
episode.
Furious alum.
Come
Vin
on,
Diesel's
Vince.
coming, baby.
Come on, Vin.
Get ready.
Come on through.
All about family.
Which, how fitting would it be? Because we have gotten to this point in Ahsoka where we have not seen, outside of a hologram, the face of Ezra Bridger, and we have not seen Thrawn whatsoever outside of just being name dropped.
Right.
How fitting would it be if the Geeta Patel episode is the reveal of Thrawn and Ezra?
We get the family reconnected.
Family.
I mean, it's perfect. Never forget your roots. Never forget your family. It'll be great.
But that just goes to show you the pure bliss and unbelievable attentions to detail and storytelling ability of everyone who's worked on this project.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because we haven't seen Ezra or Thrawn yet, and it has still been a masterpiece
And it's
of a
this
show.
good. It's
Like,
phenomenal.
it's unreal.
With that said, Disney, pay your writers.
Pay the writers, pay the
your
actors.
writers, pay
like,
the actors. Please.
that's across the board, too. All
Give
the
them-
fucking studios.
Give them what they want and more.
And
because
deserve.
Yes.
So I'm tired of it. Tired of it. Tired of these actors and writers not getting proper wages.
Like, we see what they're capable of with this show. Like, this is peak, you know? This is one of the strongest Star Wars shows since season 1, season 2 of The Mandalorian. And if you pay them, if you just give them what they want, treat them like people instead of, expendable parts to a machine, then they will continue to give you just S-tier level art like they have given us with this show.
To put in perspective of why you need to pay your writers and your actors, Aaron Paul flat out put on his Instagram story that somebody asked him while he was striking outside the studios.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't get a penny from Breaking Bad being
Oh,
on
yeah.
Netflix. A
Yeah.
penny. He gets nothing.
It is one of the biggest, most watched shows on that platform, and it's been on there for years.
Gets nothing.
No, inexcusable.
So pay
And
the
then
writers,
you've got-
pay the actors.
Yes, just do it.
Just do it.
Knock it off.
Pull a Shia LaBeouf. Just do it. Here's your Ahsoka. Just absolute debauchery from the boys. Just
We've been waiting. It's all built up. We let it out.
let us know in the comment section how you're feeling about Ahsoka so far. We got 3 episodes left.
Mm-hmm.
And
We're gonna.
The crazy part is Ahsoka's gonna happen, and then it's gonna lead right into Loki season 2. Everybody, the nerds are eating.
Yes, it is this fall, late summer, fall. It is a good time to be an absolute nerd.
Yeah. So let us know in the YouTube comment section your thoughts, especially on part 5, part 4 as well, part 3, everything going on in Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Make sure you're following us on the socials at StreamerSZN on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, TikTok is StreamerSZN Pod. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/undergroundsportsphi. Follow Joe on the tweet machine at J_Andress. That's with 2 S's, 29. You can follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating and review. And subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@undergroundsportsphiladelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show every single week, shorts, clips, live streams. And if we get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm watching Game of Thrones, you sickos.
Make
You
it
want that to
happen.
happen.
Make it happen.
Just subscribe. We need to get to 600 subscribers before the end of the month. You have about 17 days as we record this. We need 51 more of you to subscribe at the very least. So go subscribe, youtube.com/@undergroundsportsphiladelphia, and get your merch at phiapparel.co. Use code underground for 10% off any and all merch orders. There's been another episode of StreamerSZN, the exclusive streaming platform, TV and movie podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Joe, I'm KB. We're going to go explore different galaxies that may be near, far, wherever you are. But until then, we're getting the heck up out of here, and we will see you next week. Peace.